Welcome into another edition of the Future Sox podcast. My name is Elijah Evans, and I'm back with another interview. We are kicking off the offseason with a bunch of interviews lately. Super pumped to have Caden Connor on today. He's at the Arizona Fall League right now, has been crushing it down there. So we're excited to have Caden on and talk a little bit about the Fall League so far. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure. I know we talked after the draft. I think probably about a year and a half ago now, when you were first getting kind of your feet wet in the organization. Before we dive into fall league stuff, how's it just been now with two kind of full professional seasons under your belt?
Yeah, man, it's been a blast. A lot of learning, a lot of growing. A lot of great guys have been able to be around and great players. I couldn't have asked them put into a better organization for sure.
That's awesome, man. For you, like this season was an interesting one, and I was planning to start with Arizona Fall League, but now I'm just going on this thought here. You spent time at three levels this season, which is pretty rare. I mean, guys often climb, but you were somewhat of a you popped into Charlotte for a bit, then you got back up to Charlotte a bit in September. There ended up finishing with Birmingham, getting to be part of that awesome championship back to back run for with Birmingham. What was it like for you, kind of having time in all three of Winston, Birmingham, and Charlotte this season?
Yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster for sure. But it was a blast. I got to meet a lot of people, get a lot of experience, because that could be, my career at some point. You go to AAA and you get called up, then you go back down, just stuff like that happens all the time and you don't really understand that till you see it. So I definitely learned a lot. I was around a lot of great players, a lot of great coaches, and it was definitely a good experience for me.
Yeah, what do you think the biggest things when you think about like that the bouncing between levels? What was some of the biggest things you noticed from the pitching you were facing? Because you spent the majority of the year in Birmingham, but from your like limited time in Winston early in the year compared to like Charlotte later in the year, what were some of the biggest jumps you could tell in the pitching you were facing?
Yeah, I think AA and AAA were very similar. The Southern League is very pitcher friendly.
Yeah,
So when you get to Charlotte, it's kind of the ballpark's a lot smaller. You got big league baseballs, so
yeah,
it was definitely a better hitting environment there. But the pitching was, guys that have been up and down the big leagues or haven't had gotten up there yet. And then Double A, everyone's raw and just really, really talented. And then Winston, you have those younger guys that are talented and they spray the ball around the zone a little bit more, but it was definitely different as each level gone up, because each level is a different adjustment for sure.
yeah. So I want to get your take on this a little because we try to explain all the time on our show why the Southern League is particularly pitcher friendly because we always mention when you look at hitter stats and vice versa with pitchers, you have to take it with a grain of salt when you're looking at Southern League numbers, and it's almost the opposite in Charlotte. Can you describe a little bit of why part of the reasons that the Southern League can be so pitcher friendly?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Birmingham in general is a
Yeah,
really, really big ballpark. And then, the pitching in the Southern Leagues, just every organization in there has really, really good talent. And then as in AAA, the balls you're using big league baseballs and the field's a little bit smaller. Whereas in AA, I mean, I can only think of maybe one field that is semi small, and that's Biloxi.
yep,
I've seen multiple guys go like 108, 109 to any part of the park, and it did not get out. I saw Braden hit a ball 108 to left field, and I've seen that guy hit home runs at like 100. And then DJ same thing, but it's just so different, and I think the humidity plays a fact into it, the thicker air. So it's just weird things, but it's true.
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I always try to like explain because it's like you see some numbers and like power numbers across the board are lower in Birmingham. And that's one thing where it's like, yeah, they might be lower, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that the hitters are worse performing. It's just the reality of where they're playing.
Yeah, for sure.
What is it like in the outfield there too? You talk about the big fields. You being someone who's played some infield, played some outfield. You played majority outfield when you were in Birmingham. How was it getting used to that outfield and just starting to play in some of those parks in the Southern League too?
Yeah, I think it definitely helped me grow as an outfielder because you have to run a long ways away to sometimes get balls. And our pitchers were lights out down there. So I
Yeah.
mean, anytime the ball's in the air, you're trying to get it from them. So definitely adjustment. You had some it was weird. You have times where, you're camped under it or you gotta go get it. But definitely an easier and harder at the same time to depending on the night, to play outfield out there. So
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like you obviously you played a decent amount of infield, I think, your first season compared to this season. You feel like you mentioned that place helped you grow, but how do you feel about just your overall growth as someone who now is playing nothing but outfield in the AFL?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I take a lot of pride on defense. So I think for me, like they can throw me anywhere and I'll get the job done. Whatever they need me to do, I'm able to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so getting into Arizona stuff, you when did you find out you were going to the AFL? Because obviously it's a pretty it's not it's a prestigious thing to an extent where you have only a handful of guys are going to go from every organization each year. So it is kind of an honor, but it's also another month of your season where you're grinding and you're playing games in addition to everything. You just played at 126 games this season before Arizona.
yeah, so I was going to Arizona after the season for there was a couple of us going for like a little hitting camp with Ryan Fuller. And I knew playing in the fall league was a possibility because when before they announced it, they let me know like, hey, you might be in this. And then we get out to Arizona and they let me know like, hey, do you want to play? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like that's a stupid question. Of course I want to play. Um, so yeah, then did that and then ended up being here now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And now, through 16 games, you're hitting 365, getting on base over 500 clip right now. What's just the initial, we talked pre-recording about all the rainouts and how you guys had this weird schedule to start the fall. How was it just adjusting to, a different set of teammates? Obviously, you've spent time in Arizona, so it helps that Glendale is the spring training facility. But like beyond that, just getting used to the energy of playing in this type of league.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. It's more of like a developing like spring training vibes, a lot of training, a lot of, it's laid back. Um, but it's been fun. We have a really good group of guys and the coaches have been great. It's really nice having Chad Pinder with us.
Yeah.
Working with him has been great, learning a lot from him and it's been a blast for sure.
Yeah. So you talk about the group of guys you guys have there, like not to bash on anybody else with Glendale, but like you got a really, really fun, talented group of guys from the White Sox organization. What have you been able to pick up from? Obviously, you've spent time with some guys here like Glaney and Antonacci and some of these other guys that you've played with before. But what has it been like just being around this crop you guys have there and just learning from each other every day?
Yeah, it's been a blast because we were all in, Birmingham together for the second half and we're just you see how we all play together and we just play the game really hard. That's one thing I've noticed and we do the little things right, which is why I mean we won a championship because of that, but just guys like Sam, Braden and G from the offensive standpoint, like we're all different in our own ways, but we all do those small things right. And I think it stands out when we're playing with these other organizations and other teammates have been like, "You guys have such a good group." Like, you can tell how you guys won a championship together and just how hard you guys play together, so
Yeah, it shows when you've got four guys in a lineup that are playing together who have all played together before, but also like you guys have your own areas of strengths within that lineup, right? It makes the lineup feel. I mean, does it make it feel like just a deep lineup when you're playing with not only you four, but then also a handful of other really talented prospects? Because I feel like in some of these Glendale games I've been tuning into, like the lineup just feels deep. It doesn't feel like there's guys you can kind of get around in that lineup right now.
yeah, for sure. I think in the fall league in general, 1 through
Yeah,
9, you're facing a lot of guys as best players from each organization. Yeah, so every inning you have a chance to score. That's why the games are a lot of high scoring games, I feel like, because the hitters are so deep and talented here that um there's no easy out.
yeah. How's it been watching a guy like Hagen as well? Obviously, you're on the other side of the ball and you're not facing him. But seeing Hagen and some of these other guys from Carson and any of the other pitchers there, what's it been like watching a Hagen so far in the fall after seeing him in Birmingham this season?
Yeah, Hagen, I mean, he's nasty. I mean, I think it was the last 2 months of the season and in that playoffs, he was unbelievable, and then he's carried it over here, and he was dealing with that injury halfway through the year, and then he came back and he made, I think, a little tweak and just his velo and everything was, you're out there in the outfield. I'm like, do I really have to get ready out here?
Yeah,
So, yeah, he's been unbelievable. Everything is advertised, and humble dude can be. He's everything that he's seemed to be. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. For you, particularly in Arizona so far, the approach is something that shined through during the season, but even now, even more, right? 17 walks compared to 7 walks or 7 strikeouts for you so far in the fall league. What is something that kind of just keeps your brain going, and some of the keys you have for yourself in terms of your approach that is really strong in the box?
Yeah, I've had so I made a making a slight adjustment right now that Brian Fuller and I have we had a conversation about and did some labs and um had an approach going to the off season, and now we're doing it in the fall league to just kind of jumpstart it. I kind of widen out my stance a little bit to help my forward move a little bit, and it's helped me see the ball a little bit because my contact and my eye has always been above average. So I
Yeah,
think right now it's trying to be a little more aggressive, but sticking to that approach because we're huge on like decision making here. And right now it's just been feeling great. Everything's been kind of slowing down
yeah.
and I just made that adjustment really well right now and just trying to build off that.
Yeah, that's great to be able to have the time to implement that adjustment. So you mentioned the wide stance. Is it primarily a stance thing, or is it also part of your load and your setup, or is it just kind of the initial setup compared to the load?
Yeah, it's a setup thing that I'm
Yeah,
trying to work on, like starting a little bit wider so I can stay like underneath myself a little more, holding my body a little bit better. As before, I started a little narrower, and my when I'd be off, I'd go forward really fast, and I would lose my bat and everything, which would allow me to hit the ball on the ground. And we want to hit the ball in the air a little bit more, but still working on that. But yeah,
yeah. Can you touch on the relationship with Ryan a little bit there, just about how everything I've heard from hitters. It's crazy to think about guys who are the 18-year-olds just getting into the org, and then the guys like you have been in the coming out of college that all are working with Ryan in some capacity. What's it been like since he's come to the organization, just getting into hitting with him?
yeah, it's been great. I mean, he's one of the smartest people I've been around. The things he'll send me a text or like on a phone call or when he's in town, at least, like it's unbelievable the information that he's pouring into us and how hard he's working for all of us. He's everywhere, so you're not going to be with him constantly because he's with the big leagues and down. But
Yeah.
anytime he's with us, the amount of work we get to put in with him is been really beneficial. And he's open to anybody, and he's been an amazing asset to us. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What do you think about the pitching you're facing there? Obviously, we talked about the approach and the walks. What's it like facing such a wide range of pitchers? Because you've got guys who are like in one game you could see a guy who's like just starting his pro career last year and is super young, and then you could see a 26-year-old reliever who's knocking on the door of the big leagues, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because we get a scouting report, but like the hitters, the pitchers are also working on things too. So
Yeah.
out of nowhere, they're throwing a different pitch that you didn't think they even
Yep.
threw when you're going up to the box. So you're kind of going up blind, but it's been really good because it makes you kind of just take everything into a grain of salt. Like I need to just go up there and compete. But yeah, it's crazy the wide different,
Yeah.
like you said, of the pitchers.
Anybody that's particularly stuck out to you where you faced them and you'd be like, I did not realize that guy was nasty like that.
Oh man. Gosh. There's this guy Perales from the Red Sox.
Oh,
He's
he's
like he
gross.
sits like
Yeah,
101.
he's
We
gross.
faced him like three times already. And then tonight we got a guy from the Orioles. His name's like De Leon,
Yeah,
lefty.
he's
He's
gross.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some arms there for sure. I mean, I remember I think Perales was he the first game you guys faced or the second game maybe? One of like the first game of the season.
First, yeah. His
Yeah.
first three starts were against us too.
Nice. I remember seeing
Yeah.
that he was starting like the first game of the AFL and I was like, that's a warm welcome to Arizona for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For you, this has been a general trend within the organization that I noticed with you as well. This season you stole 13 bags in just a handful of games in Arizona. You're 6 for 6 in stolen bases. Is that an emphasis for you to just add more into your game? Because I've noticed a lot of guys in the White Sox, or particularly, that have really tried to add a little bit more juice on the bases this year.
Yeah, they've been a huge like telling us when you get on first, like go.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, next year I for sure I want to be more aggressive, stealing bases. It also helps too, like where you're hitting and who's behind you. You can take those chances too.
Yeah.
Whereas in Birmingham, I had some of the bigger guys behind me where I probably wouldn't take
Right.
the chances to run. But yeah, Chad and Doug Sisson, they're huge on like stealing bases, and that's definitely something I want to work on. And right now is a great time to do that. And yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there any other elements of your game that you just think you're kind of keyed in on here in the fall and figuring out, and then you only got a handful of games here left in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, just right now, just continue the pace that I'm going on right now,
Yeah,
just having good at bats, and then, going into the off season, working on those adjustments that I was talking to you about earlier about like the wider stance and
yeah.
getting it in a better spot hitting wise. But yeah, just continue to do that, and then just get stronger, and yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What's the rest of the off season looking like for you? Obviously, this is we talked about it pre-recording a little, but like you've got it's November 4th as we're recording here
yeah,
today, and you've got 4 months till spring training stuff starts getting going, and you're still playing games right now.
yeah. So I mean, definitely going back home to Orange County, California, and take a little bit of time off, like a week or two, and then get back into it, just because. I don't want to miss out on
Yeah,
the full off season pretty much. So, um, definitely a shorter off season for me, but I'm lucky to be at the position I am. So,
yeah. You feel like the body's holding up well. I mean, obviously, this is the most games you've ever played in a year by a large margin, probably.
yeah, for sure. And the no travel is nice too, and sleeping in the
That's
same
true.
bed every day. So that's the only
Yeah.
positive I'd say.
Yeah, that helps for sure. All right, man. Well, we appreciate it. You've been crushing it for sure. Keep it up. Finish strong here, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year.
Awesome. Thank you.